Hey, welcome back. I'm Rick Sanchez. Now to the pipeline that Germany sorely wants and needs so that it can provide its population with fuel. The problem is the Nord Stream pipeline 1 and 2 comes from Russia, and the United States doesn't like that. But Denmark, on the other hand, has said, look, we're cool with it. And in fact, Denmark has given the okay for it to go through the Baltic Sea. The country's approval of the project is meant to go around the U.S. sanctions, which threaten to seriously delay or cancel the pipeline project. The pipeline is a massive undertaking, which involves laying something like 750 miles of pipe under the Baltic Sea from Russia to northern Germany. That will allow Germany to purchase up to 110 billion cubic meters of natural gas directly from Russia. It's a business deal, right? Well, now the U.S. and its opposition to the pipeline bases solely on its sanctions against Russia and its Russia ire. Is that the case? Well, yeah, the answer would be yes, but that's not all. Why else is the U.S. wanting to stop this? The U.S., according to many experts, is concerned about how much of a powerhouse, think about it, Germany could be if it is able to tap into an unlimited supply of cheap gas. See, there's a lot riding on this Nord Stream thing. For the latest, here is RT correspondent Peter Oliver reporting from Berlin.
It may be loathed by politicians across the US, but Denmark has given the green light to the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline project to continue, with all important undersea pipe-laying vessels being put to work.
The Danish Energy Agency has decided that Nord Stream 2 AG also may use pipe-laying vessels with anchors in connection with the construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipelines.
The pipeline is a joint project between Russia's Gazprom and 5 other European companies. When it's finished, it'll bring an extra 55 billion cubic meters of gas directly from Russia into Germany. And these particular Danish ships are crucial to getting the job completed.
As we expected, the DEA satisfied our request. We will implement the project in accordance with the building permit and environmental impact assessment. We continue to consider various options for its completion, and in due time we will inform about our plans.
The reason this specialized equipment is so important is that the pipeline is being laid in some particularly choppy waters. Nothing to do with nautical conditions, more to do with the 50,000 tons of chemical weapons that were dumped on the sea floor in the area during post-World War II decommissioning. The response from Washington to the project has been equally as toxic. The United States says this pipeline will make Europe overly reliant on Russia for energy. It'll also lessen demand for US liquefied natural gas. Last month, a bipartisan bill was introduced into Congress, which could see US sanctions imposed on European companies and individuals involved in Nord Stream 2. Totally unacceptable, says the German gas lobby.
The adoption of such a tightened and retroactive sanctions law would be an unacceptable encroachment on the EU sovereignty and energy security of Western Europe.
The problem for the United States is that their product, liquefied natural gas, is more expensive on the European market. And Washington wielding sanctions like a club with which to beat those that don't do as they're told is hardly going to make friends and influence people in European capitals. Peter Oliver in Berlin for News with Rick Sanchez.
Good stuff, Peter. You think you made us understand this a little bit better, but still we're left with questions. Joining me now is UK MP George Galloway. So as I understand it, and this story does get a little bit confusing, George, the Russians are saying, look, this is a great thing. The Germans are saying we need it. The Americans are saying, how dare you even think about putting a pipeline between your two countries? So rather than believe what any media in any of those countries is saying, I went to Wikipedia. I just did a Wikipedia search. I'm going to read you what Wikipedia says about the Nord Stream. It says, quote, I think we can put it up. Here it is. Nord Stream is opposed by the U.S. because of concerns that it would increase Russia's influence in the region. The U.S. resistance to Nord Stream is also influenced by the country's increased production of natural gas, which gives the U.S. Congress economic incentive to resist Russia's supply of gas in favor of U.S. shale gas. This is Wikipedia, George. What does it tell you?
That's a pretty good summary. The old saw, if you're going to take a shot at the king, you better not miss. Germany is the king of the European economy. Its sovereignty is not for sale. Neither is the European Union's vis-a-vis the United States. And of course, Russia is smiling too. So this is a very big setback for Mike Pompeo in particular, who's exerted enormous sweat and tears on this subject, and he's failed. The Danes were not intimidated. The Danes are only 10% of the project. 90% of the pipeline's already done, but that 10% could have scuppered the whole thing. And the US put might and main into dissuading Denmark from the decision they've just taken. So it's a very good day, a red letter day, you might say, for Russian-European cooperation. That's why the US doesn't like it. There's also, of course, the interest that you refer to there, that it means that your more expensive liquid natural gas will not be being purchased in Europe after all. So, you know, the idea of taking gas thousands of miles across the ocean rather than through a pipeline from one part of Europe to the next part of Europe never was, didn't have much logic attached to it. Only if the allies were going to do what the US told them, and that is less and less true.
It makes me wonder then whether all the news items we often hear about Russia bad, this country's bad, that country's bad, more often than not is a Machiavellian play and is more based on some economic reason. Because this one is so clear, it makes me wonder if all the others are just as clear.
Absolutely so, and we ought to treat with a very large dose of salt the handouts that are given by states to the media, which tamely reports them. I just heard you say the RT America's news is right down the middle, and its reach is global. I hope they paid you for that, because it perfectly encapsulates the need for people to question more.
Well said. Thank you, George. I certainly appreciate you coming on.